Come with me. I need you tonight. Those 6 words would follow Emily Carter for the rest of her life. They were whispered, not demanded, soft, controlled, intimate, exactly like the woman who said them, Catherine Sinclair, CEO, billionaire, heir to one of the most powerful luxury conglomerates in the world, and Emily's boss. But at that moment, standing beneath crystal chandeliers at the wedding reception of Catherine's father, those titles meant nothing. What mattered was the way Catherine's hand brushed Emily's wrist as she spoke, the way her blue eyes, sharp enough to intimidate boardrooms full of executives, softened just for her. And the choice Emily now had to make: stay where she belonged or follow Catherine Sinclair into the night and risk everything. Emily had worked as Catherine's executive assistant for 3 years. 3 years of early mornings, late nights, perfectly timed reminders, crisis management, and silent admiration she never allowed herself to acknowledge. She knew Catherine's schedules better than her own, knew she took her coffee black, never smiled for photos unless she meant it, and wore tailored suits even when everyone else dressed casually. What Emily didn't know, what she refused to consider, was how Catherine looked at her when she wasn't paying attention. Tonight, however, it was impossible not to notice. The wedding venue was nothing short of breathtaking. A private estate overlooking Lake Como, all white stone and cascading flowers. Candlelight flickered across marble floors. Crystal chandeliers reflected gold and amber hues, making everything feel suspended in time. Emily adjusted the strap of her small clutch, smoothing her emerald green dress nervously. It was elegant but simple, chosen carefully to be appropriate, professional, invisible. Catherine, on the other hand, was impossible to ignore. She wore a champagne-colored gown that clung to her like it had been designed with only her in mind. Her blonde hair was styled in soft waves, elegant and controlled, yet loose enough to suggest rebellion. Diamonds rested at her collarbone, subtle but unmistakably expensive. She looked every inch the woman the media called the ice heiress. Except Emily could see the cracks. Catherine's father, Richard Sinclair, was marrying again, his 3rd wife, younger, European, perfect for the tabloids, and Catherine was expected to stand beside him, smile, play the role of the composed, successful daughter. Emily knew how much that cost her. "You're staring," Emily murmured softly, leaning closer so no one else could hear. Catherine exhaled, tension barely concealed. "I'm rehearsing my expression." "For what?" "For pretending this doesn't bother me." I swallowed. "You don't have to pretend with me." Catherine's gaze shifted, meeting hers. For a brief second, the noise of the room faded. That's when Catherine leaned in. "Come with me. I need you tonight." Emily's heart slammed against her ribs. "Catherine?" "Not as my assistant," she added quickly, her voice low, urgent, "as someone I trust, someone I need." Emily should have said no. She thought of HR policies, power dynamics, her career, her carefully built emotional walls. Instead, she nodded. The garden outside was lit by hundreds of tiny lights woven through olive trees. The air smelled like roses and citrus. The distant sound of music floated through open doors, muffled and dreamy. Catherine walked ahead, heels clicking softly against stone, her posture rigid until they were alone. Then she stopped. "I hate this," she said suddenly, cracking. "The pretending, the expectations, sitting there while everyone watches me like I'm part of the decor." Emily hesitated and stepped closer. "You don't look like decor." Catherine laughed bitterly. "I look like a strategy." She turned, really looking at Emily now. "Do you know why I asked you to come?" Emily's pulse thundered. Because I keep your calendar from collapsing? A ghost of a smile appeared. Because you see me. Silence settled between them, heavy, electric. Catherine's hand lifted, hovering near Emily's cheek, not quite touching. I've spent my entire life being untouchable, and I'm so tired. Emily's voice trembled. Then don't be. Not tonight. That was all it took. Catherine closed the distance and kissed her. Not rushed, not reckless, intentional. Emily's breath caught as the world shifted, just slightly, irrevocably. When they pulled apart, Catherine rested her forehead against Emily's. "This changes everything," Catherine murmured. Emily nodded. "I know. And I don't regret it." Neither did Emily. Not for a second.
I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, the city humming softly outside my window, replaying every second of the evening like a film stuck on repeat. Catherine's voice, her hand on my waist, the way she had looked at me when she said my name, like it meant something more than just a sound. I had gone home with my heart racing and my mind completely unraveled because nothing about what happened made sense. Catherine Sinclair was my boss. She was the CEO of Sinclair Holdings, heir to one of the most powerful business empires in the country. She lived in penthouses and boardrooms. She made decisions that moved markets. And I was her assistant, the one who booked her flights, organized her calendar, reminded her to eat when she forgot, the one who knew how she took her coffee, black, no sugar, the one who knew she hated small talk and loved old jazz records, the one who had watched her build walls brick by brick over the last 3 years. And now, she had kissed me in a garden during her father's wedding. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. For a split second, my heart jumped into my throat. "Catherine, are you awake?" I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering. I shouldn't answer. This was dangerous territory, for both of us. But my heart had apparently stopped listening to my brain hours ago. Me. Yes. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. "Catherine, I just wanted to say, I meant what I said tonight." I swallowed hard. Me. About being tired of pretending? There was a pause, longer this time. "Catherine, about wanting something real, about wanting you." My chest tightened. I rolled onto my side, clutching the phone like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. Me. Then what happens now? Several minutes passed. I imagined her somewhere expensive and quiet, probably sitting on the edge of a perfectly made bed, wearing silk pajamas that cost more than my monthly rent, staring at her phone with the same uncertainty twisting in her chest. Finally, her message came through. "Catherine, tomorrow we go back to being professional. For now. But this isn't over." I exhaled slowly. Neither relief nor fear won that battle. They settled into an uneasy truce. Monday morning. The office had never felt so loud. Every click of heels on marble floors, every murmur of voices behind glass walls, every elevator chime made my nerves jump. I arrived early, as always. Hair neatly pulled back, blouse pressed, expression neutral. Assistant Emily. By the time Catherine arrived, the entire executive floor straightened itself instinctively, like the building itself knew who was walking in. She wore a tailored navy suit that hugged her frame perfectly, paired with a crisp white blouse. Her blonde hair was styled in soft waves that fell just past her shoulders, elegant but effortless. She looked untouchable, as if nothing had happened. She didn't look at me when she passed my desk. "Good morning," she said evenly. "Good morning, Miss Sinclair," I replied, just as evenly. It hurt more than I expected. Inside her office, she conducted meetings with the same calm authority as always. She negotiated, dismissed, commanded. But I noticed the small things. The way her fingers tightened around her pen when our eyes accidentally met through the glass. The way she lingered for half a second longer when handing me documents. The way her voice softened, just slightly, when she said my name. By noon, my chest felt tight from holding everything in. When I brought her coffee, she finally looked at me. Really looked. Her eyes searched my face, as if checking whether I was still there, whether I was still hers in some quiet, unspoken way. "Emily?" she said softly. "Yes?" "Clear my afternoon." My heart skipped. "I need you with me," she added, lowering her voice. "Off-site." I nodded, professionalism intact, pulse anything but. The drive. She drove this time. The city blurred past the windows as silence filled the car, thick and heavy. Catherine finally spoke. "I meant what I said about taking things slow, but I won't pretend nothing happened. I won't do that to either of us." I nodded. "I don't want that either." She glanced at me, something vulnerable flickering across her face. "Good." We arrived at her apartment building. Glass, steel, security everywhere. The elevator ride was quiet, tension crackling between us. When the doors opened, she hesitated. "This stays between us for now. The company, my father, the board, they can't know yet." "I understand." And I did. She unlocked the door. Her apartment was warm and understated, all neutral tones and soft lighting. It didn't feel like a showpiece. It felt like a refuge. She kicked off her heels and loosened her jacket, suddenly looking less like a CEO and more like a woman who had been carrying too much for too long. She turned to me. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "I've never mixed feelings with control." I took a step closer. "Then let's not control it," I said quietly. "Let's just be honest." Her breath caught. Slowly, carefully, she reached for my hand. The moment our fingers intertwined, something settled in my chest. Not certainty, but possibility. And for Catherine Sinclair, the woman who controlled everything, that might have been the bravest thing of all. Milan didn't feel real. It felt like a postcard that had come to life. Gray stone buildings rose like quiet witnesses to centuries of power and ambition. The air smelled faintly of espresso and rain, and everything, from the fashion houses to the way people walked, carried an effortless confidence Emily wasn't sure she'd ever possess. Catherine Sinclair's world. Emily adjusted her coat as they stepped out of the car in front of the hotel, her heels clicking softly against the marble pavement. The hotel itself was intimidatingly beautiful. Ornate balconies, tall glass doors, soft golden lights spilling out onto the street. 5 stars, of course. Catherine exited the car after her, already slipping back into CEO mode. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her tailored coat cinched at the waist, posture straight, expression composed. The woman who could silence a boardroom with a single glance. Emily knew this version of her well. What unsettled her was how easily Catherine had slipped back into it. The flight from New York had been complicated. They hadn't fought, not exactly, but the warmth of the night after the wedding, the lingering glances, the secret smiles, had slowly cooled somewhere over the Atlantic. Now they were here for business. Officially. Catherine handed her passport to the concierge without hesitation. "Sinclair," she said smoothly. "Presidential suite." Emily swallowed. Of course. The elevator ride was quiet. Too quiet. Emily stared at the mirrored walls, suddenly very aware of herself. Her simple black dress, sensible heels, hair pulled back neatly. She looked like what she was, an assistant. Catherine stood beside her, arms crossed loosely, eyes focused somewhere far away. The reflection caught the faint tension in her jaw, a woman bracing herself. When the elevator doors opened, the suite took Emily's breath away. High ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a living room larger than Emily's entire apartment, soft lighting, neutral tones, luxury without excess. And one bedroom. Emily noticed that immediately. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Catherine exhaled, finally dropping her shoulders. We'll be meeting the Rossi group tomorrow morning. Dinner tonight with their legal team. I'll need you to review the revised contracts before... Catherine. The name slipped out before Emily could stop herself. Catherine froze. Slowly, she turned. Yes? Emily swallowed. Can we talk? Not about work. A pause. Then Catherine nodded. Of course. They sat on opposite ends of the sofa, the distance between them feeling heavier than it should. Emily feels like you disappeared, somewhere between the wedding and here. Catherine's gaze softened, but only briefly. I didn't disappear, I adjusted. That's not the same thing. Catherine looked away, fingers tightening slightly against her knee. This trip matters. If this deal goes through, it changes everything for the company, for me. And for us? Emily asked. That did it. Catherine looked back at her, eyes sharp with something dangerously close to fear. That's exactly the problem. There is no us in Milan. Not here, not now. Emily felt the sting immediately. So you're my assistant again, she said softly. Catherine didn't deny it. Yes. Silence settled between them, thick and uncomfortable. Emily nodded slowly. Okay. She stood. I'll review the contracts. She walked toward the desk near the window, every step feeling heavier than the last. Behind her, Catherine closed her eyes. Dinner was a performance. Emily watched Catherine glide through the restaurant with practiced ease, charming, composed, untouchable. Italian executives leaned in when she spoke, listened, smiled. Emily translated notes, kept schedules aligned, smiled when required. Invisible again. But Catherine kept finding her. A glance across the table, a pause that lingered too long, fingers brushing when passing a document. Unintentional or not. Back at the hotel, it was after midnight. Emily stood by the window in the dimly lit suite, Milan spread out below her like a constellation of quiet power. She heard Catherine behind her. You were incredible tonight. You always are. Emily didn't turn around. You don't get to say things like that when you've spent the entire day pretending I don't exist. That's not what I was doing. Then what were you doing? Catherine stepped closer, close enough that Emily could feel her presence before she felt her touch. I protect you, Catherine said quietly, and myself. Emily laughed softly, without humor. From what? Feeling something real? Catherine didn't answer. Instead, she reached out, hesitant time, and gently touched Emily's wrist. The contact sent a shock straight through Emily's chest. You don't understand what this world does to people. The scrutiny, the expectations, one wrong move, and what? You lose control? Catherine's breath caught. Yes. There it was. Emily stepped closer, voice steady despite the storm inside her. Then stop pretending you don't want this. Stop pretending I don't matter the moment business enters the room. Catherine's composure cracked, just slightly. I think about you constantly, and that terrifies me. Emily reached up, cupping her cheek. I'm scared too, but I'm here. For a long moment, Catherine didn't move. Then she leaned in. The kiss was slower than before, careful, like both of them were afraid of breaking something fragile. Emily melted into it. Catherine's hand slid to her waist, firm but reverent, as if grounding herself in the reality of the moment. When they pulled apart, Catherine rested her forehead against Emily's. We can't do this halfway, Catherine whispered. Then don't, Emily replied. A beat. Then Catherine took her hand. They stood in the doorway of the bedroom, the city lights bleeding softly through the curtains. Catherine hesitated. Emily squeezed her hand. We can stop. Catherine shook her head. I don't want to. They moved together slowly, like time itself had softened. Clothes were shed carefully, touches were exploratory, reverent. Every kiss felt like a question and an answer all at once. Emily traced the lines of Catherine's shoulders, the tension she carried there. You're allowed to rest, Emily whispered. Catherine exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. They fell asleep tangled together, Milan humming quietly outside the window. Morning came too soon. Emily woke first. Catherine was already dressed, back in armor. "There's been a complication," Catherine said. "The Rossi group wants a private meeting." Emily frowned. "About the deal?" Catherine hesitated. "About us." Emily's heart dropped. Outside, Milan waited, and whatever came next would change everything.